Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the casket. The words cut through the silence like a blade. The airport terminal froze. Families, travelers, even flight attendants turned their heads toward the confrontation unfolding near Gate C7. A sharply dressed man in a TSA uniform stood face to face with a United States Marine, his hand outstretched toward a flag-draped coffin resting on a gurney. The Marine didn't flinch. His white gloves stayed firmly at his sides, his eyes fixed forward, stone-cold and unwavering. A ripple of whispers spread through the onlookers. "That's a tomb guard," someone murmured. But the TSA supervisor clearly didn't care. "I don't know who you think you are," he snapped, "but this area's restricted." Behind the rope line, a group of mourners, some in black dresses, others in military pins, watched with wide eyes. One woman in particular, her face red and tear-streaked, pressed her hand to her mouth. That was the mother of the fallen soldier in the casket. Her son had given his life during a humanitarian mission overseas. He wasn't just a soldier, he was her only child, her everything. The man beside her, a sharply dressed funeral director, stepped forward, trying to de-escalate the situation. "Sir, please, that's Staff Sergeant Daniels of the 3rd U.S. Infantry. He's the designated escort for this hero. You don't stop a tomb guard mid-duty, ever." But the TSA supervisor scoffed. "I don't care if he's the president. Rules are rules. He didn't clear this escort with my office." At that moment, the Marine slowly turned his head, not to argue, not to plead, but to meet the eyes of the mother behind the barrier. She gave a tiny nod, her lip trembling. He was here for her son, and no one would interrupt that mission. That's when the Marine did something no one expected. Without saying a word, he reached into his coat pocket and retrieved a creased letter. He unfolded it and handed it to the supervisor. It was a direct authorization from the Department of Defense, complete with a presidential seal. The supervisor paled, his mouth opened, then shut. The entire terminal was silent. You could hear a pin drop. And then, applause. It started from the back, an elderly veteran in a wheelchair. He clapped once, then again, and slowly others joined in. One by one, people rose from their seats. Some held their hands over their hearts, others stood in solemn silence. But the Marine, he didn't even blink. He simply turned back to the casket, placed his hand gently on the flag, and began to escort it forward. Step by precise step, every motion dripping with reverence. It was only then that people began to notice the tears in his eyes. Staff Sergeant Daniels had served 3 tours. But this was different. The soldier in the casket. That was Private First Class Eli Harper, Daniel's childhood friend. They'd grown up on the same street, joined the Corps together, and had promised to look out for each other. Only one of them had come home. Flashback to 2 weeks earlier, Daniels had been standing watch at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington when the call came through. The request was personal. Harper's mother had asked if he could be the one to bring her son home, not because he was a Marine, but because he was family. And now, here he was, standing in a cold airport terminal, defying protocol, emotion locked behind military discipline, heartbreaking under that pristine uniform. As he passed the rows of silent travelers, a little girl with a pink backpack stepped forward. She looked up at the Marine, then at the casket. "Is that a hero?" she asked her mum. The mother nodded. "Yes, sweetheart, that's a real hero." Daniels paused. Just for a second, just long enough to meet the little girl's gaze and offer the smallest of nods. By the time they reached the hearse outside, the entire terminal had gathered behind the glass windows. The fallen soldier's mother stepped forward, touched the casket and whispered, "Thank you for bringing my boy home." Daniels saluted sharply, not just to her, not just to the flag, but to the memory of his friend, to the promise they'd made. The TSA supervisor stood off to the side now, eyes lowered, ashamed. He tried to speak, to apologize. But Daniels walked past him in silence. Some things don't need words. Some duties go beyond policy. And that day, the airport learned a lesson that would never be forgotten. Honor doesn't clock in. Respect doesn't ask permission. And love never dies. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment where are you watching from. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.